available
conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so soon I'll share my screen also with you people so that you can see what we are going to learn today. Till then, be patient. I'll have a confirmation again with the admin people that can I move ahead or not. Okay. So welcome back. Okay, so we can start a session now. Okay, so welcome you all guys for the first session of full stack. Uh, yeah. Let me have a confirmation from your side that can you see my screen as well as am I clearly audible to all people? Just put a message. Yeah. Thank you, Pathira. Okay. Fine. So let's just move ahead towards the session. Yeah. So welcome back. See, guys, yesterday, as we have discussed in the demo session, that my course basically begins with learning of source code management. See, before learning how to write source code, we're supposed to be capable enough to manage that particular source code. For that reason, we are going to use one of the version control system. Specifically, I'm going to use one of the distributed version control system that are available in the market, and many companies, many MNCs, many large scale companies are adopting that version control system in their day-to-day development lifecycle. Okay, so here, welcome back to the first session that will be on distributed version control system. Soon I'll take you to the journey, but this will be the agenda of the session that we're supposed to learn what is version control system, what is VCS, and why we are going to use VCS. Then centralized VCS and distributed VCS. Okay, what is it? What is the difference between centralized, distributed, and localized? I'll tell you the difference. What are the different type of version control system available, and how you can move ahead with it, and why we what is Git and why we are choosing Git. What are the repositories we have? What are the working tree? What are the installation steps and commands as we are going to move ahead? Okay, so fine. So this was the agenda. So I'll start directly with a Alibaba story. Yesterday only I said right, my sessions will be mostly focused on Alibaba story. Let's just go towards one Alibaba story. See, Whenever a developer is working at his desk, okay, what job he's supposed to perform? Okay, he's supposed to, create something. Okay, then like he's supposed to be creating some files. Okay, then he's supposed to be saving that particular file. Then again he's supposed to modify some file. Then again he's supposed to save that particular file, modify, create, save, modify, create, and save. That's what and role and responsibility of a developer is, right? Pretty much easy, right? If this is the way, then why we supposed to learn full stack? Exactly. No, but the thing is, if I talk about this in at very basic level, that's how a developer works. He's supposed to create some file. He's supposed to save some file. He's supposed to again edit some file and again save. So he is going to do that particular task again and again every single time, right? That's what the daily. If I break down the task at very basic level, that will be the roles and responsibility of a developer is. Okay, so before if a developer is working in this way, okay, so how will be the scenario? Okay, I'll share you one diagram with you people. For example, developer A is there and developer B is there. A developer A works on a project. For example, I am a lead, I assign a project to a developer A. Now, what developer A was doing, for example, have given 2, 3 features for a developer A to get developed. See, whenever you're working with the company, you'll have a team members there, at least 4 members or 5 members per a team. Okay. So imagine we have 2 developers here, developer A and developer B, along with C, D is also there. I have not picked them into picture, but A and B are there for now. Okay. Whenever I assign 2 features for developer A, what developer A was doing, he has assigned with some feature projects. Okay, then combining these projects or features together will form a complete product. Okay, imagine that scenarios. So developer A has been assigned with some project or features. For example, I can call this as feature 1 and feature 2. I've given 2 features here. So once developer A has been assigned with this feature, what he has done, he has started working on that particular source code. Imagine I have given, for example, I have given login, registration, or some payment integration to the developer A. Now he started work. He has been assigned with tasks. He started working on his project. Now while working with this project, what he has done, he just kick out that particular project with some data. He started writing source code from the beginning and all. So he developed the feature. Okay, so first time what he has done, he has completed that particular project, and as I am a lead, so what he has done, he came to me. For example, imagine his third person is available, and that third person is, for example, I'll go back here, and imagine now there is a third person available here. One second. Second, guys. Let me do this right. One second. So imagine what is there, the third person available here. What it does, for example, that I am here. What he has done, he has written a source code. Then he'll come back to me, sir. I have written a source code plus this. Please just verify this particular source code and let me know that this particular source code is a valid source code or not. Can I move this source code to the production environment or not? Because I am a lead, I'm supposed to verify his source code before moving that particular source code to the production. So if any errors are there, if any bugs are there related to source code, or any problem are there within his source code, so I'm supposed to verify his source code here. So what I did, he came first of all to me, then I started verifying his source code. Whatever the project he was developing, he was working, his source code was according to the requirement. But what have done? What was there? There was a lot of boilerplate, unnecessary code was available with developer A. So what I asked developer A to go back again and remove those unnecessary code, and then let me know once he done with it. So what developer has done? Developer has came back to his project. Now he started what he's done. He was not keeping any backup. He started directly modifying the previous source code. That means he was directly modifying that particular files. For example, he has 10 files. He was modifying that 10 files at once. So he was modifying 10 files. He was not giving any backup of his previous working source code. So again, he modified. Now, again, he came back to me. I said, developer A, he has given the source code to me again to verify. I verify source code. Now, there is no boilerplate source code. There is no unnecessary source code. But what happened is, there is no unnecessary source code, but whatever the coding standards what developer A was following, it was not a good coding standards. I feel that he has written a source code, here and there. So I asked him, please verify the source code according to the coding standards. Once you're done with the source code according to the coding standard, let me know that. Then I'll move your source code to the production. Second time, what I'm doing, second time, I'm asking a developer A to move back to his source project again and start modifying again. Developer A, again, he went back to his desk and he started modifying the same source code without keeping any backup, right? So again, he modified the source code and he came back to me. Sir, this time I modified the source code according to the coding standard. Let me know, can I move this source code to the production environment or not? I said, no. Let me check again. Again, I verify his project. Then again, I found something like he was not keeping any validations, or there was some loopholes are available within his source code. Breakage are there. So what I'll ask him, developer A, please add proper validation and come back to me again. And then I'll check your source code and I'll give a permission to move back to your source code to the production. Now again, third time, developer A moved to his project again, third time. Now, once he was moving third time to his project, okay, once he was moving third time to his project, what he has done, I asked him to move back to third time to the project. He again started modifying his source code without keeping any backup. There was no backup. He was directly modifying those files. Okay, so once he was directly modifying those files, see, there's no previous code. He's directly modified that particular files. Again, fourth time, what happened? He came back to me. He done the change. He has completed the changes, and he came back to me again for verifying the source code. This time there was a problem related to coding standards solved. There was a problem related to validation solved. But fourth time also, as I'm a lead, right? Lead people never get satisfied. So I asked him to move a changes back. This time I said, you have code according to coding standard, you have validations, but your code is little bit slight of requirement. Whatever the requirement we have given to you, it is not fitting according to the requirement. Do the changes and come back again. So again, he'll go back to his desk, okay, and again modify the changes here without any backup. Fine. So he's modifying again changes, but once he modified the changes, fourth time I'm sending to him back, right? So no change, no. Again, he finished that particular requirement, whatever I've given to you. Again, he came back to me. Fifth time, this guy was very frustrated and came again to me, sir, please this time, okay, just leave me, so that I can move my source code to the production. Again, I said no. You have again some changes. Go back and modify and come back to me. Sixth time, he'll go to his desk again, same process, and modify the changes without any backup and come to me again. Once he come to me again, what I'll do, okay, this time I said your code is okay, but what I want your previous version of your, so whatever the last thing you have developed, right? I don't want these changes. These changes, what I ask you to do it for the future purpose. I don't want these changes. I want the previous changes you have done. Fifth time, whatever the changes you have done, I want that changes. I don't want new changes. New changes we are going to release in next sprint, or these are the feature changes. So I want these changes later, but I want fifth version of your source code. So developer A, this guy was not keeping any backup, so he don't have fifth version of changes, right? He was directly modifying the source code. So that time the result will be a failure result, because he has to sit and he has to manually remove all those changes that he have done. Okay, there is no previous track of the work. That time he end up with what? He end up with lot of trouble. He may modify one file, he may modify 10 file, he may modify more than 10 file. Again, keeping manually track of it. Okay, once we done with the code, manually you can't keep a track because you're not machine, right? So he end up with failure. Imagine same scenario, developer A got failure now. This guy's achieved failure at the end because I asked him to move back, and he was not acting smart. He was keeping what? Directly modifying the previous source code dumbly. Now we have what? Developer B. Same thing what I've done. I asked developer B also to work on some sort source code. For example, I've given him features like integrate a payment gateway, generate a backend for registration and login, generate 4 or 5 tasks I've assigned to developer B. Now developer B initially assigned the same task, same process. A, B assigned with some project. Now once B assigned with some project, what B was doing, okay, now as B is there, what he was doing, he went to his desk, started developing his source code. And first of all, once he's done with the source code, what he has done, he came to me, sir, verify this source code, ask, can I move this source code to the production or not? Same process. So once I said no, you can't move. You have again some changes. Do some changes like you have some validation issue, or you some have some error, or you some have unnecessary boilerplate code is added within your source code, and your source code is not according to coding standard. Do the changes and come back to me. But developer B was smart fellow. What he was doing, he before moving ahead, this guy was keeping previous backup of previous source code. That means he was keeping some directories there, entire copy working source code into one folder. Okay, we call this as, for example, for now I'll call B1. Again, first time he came, I asked him to do the changes. Fine. Next time he again came to me. Okay, I'll ask again him to changes, do some changes and come back again. For example, changes related to some source code. I'm not liking his source code. He's supposed to arrange that source code properly. So again, he moved, and whatever the previous version of source code he was modifying, he was keeping backup. That was a working code. So he was always acting smart by keeping backup of previous working source code, right? So he was having B1, B2, B3. Once he was reached to the B4, he was saying, sir, this time I've done the changes according to your requirement. Please let me know that can I move this source code to the production environment or not? I said no. Okay, again do some changes, come back. Same story. So he has done till B4 or B5. Then again he came again, back again. I like his source code. I said, I don't want boss. See, I don't want this source code for this B4, whatever the backup for you have. I don't want. I want previous version of source code. So this guy was acting smart by keeping previous working copy of source code, backup one, backup two, backup three, like that. So this guy end up with what result will be success, because he'll have that particular previous version of backup to move back, right? Otherwise, what will be there? He'll be end up with a lot of pain that I don't have. Like this fellow was not having any previous version of backup. So see here, what I'm doing, I'm keeping source code previous backups, one, B1, B2, B3. This guy was keeping backups. But see, if I talk, same thing will happen in real time scenarios also. Okay, whenever we are working with a team or whenever we are working individually also, that time what happen, I'll have lot of source code modified like B1, like B2. Daily job is, I said, right? Daily job of a developer is what? Create file, modify again, then again save, create something new, modify and save again. So these are the daily jobs you're going to do. So inside that daily job, if if your lead say, or if you are working and you want previous working source code supposed to be available with you so that you can move back, that time always act smart and keep what? Backup, always backup of previous version of source code. If you're keeping that thing, you can move ahead. I always recommend all of my juniors, those are working under me. Okay, so keep always previous version of backup available with you, so that you can you can switch back at any point of you know time to the every point of time to the previous version of your source code, right? This is very good habit actually. So always keep backups of previous source code. So this guy will end up with what? Result success. Same thing I'm talking here, but see here, the problem is what? If I'm doing backup, if this guy is keeping backup manually, like B1, B2, B3, B4, always. So like, my source code will daily grow. I'll have changes daily. I'll modify file daily. I'll do changes daily. Developer job is to modify daily. Daily changes will come, daily file will create it. So like that, if he's creating backup manually, he'll end up with, for example, may have 1,000 changes, 2,000 changes. That time he'll end up with what? 2,000 backup, 3,000 backup, lakhs of backup. If it's a big project, we'll have and lakhs of previous version of source code we want, backups to backups, backups to backup. Like previous to previous source code should be available. So if I'm keeping this thing manually, again a problem for a developer A. Okay, what happened? Again will be the problem for a developer A. What developer now? Let me check everything is fine or not. Yeah. So again, it will be a problem for a developer A. So what from this onwards, what developer A decided, so was again one developer. Let me just. Okay. So same thing. What happened? Again, there was one developer. Okay. The developer was developer C. Now what developer C was doing? Okay. So what I'll do, I'll go back here. Now this was, for example, for me developer C. Okay, okay, this is my developer C. Okay, now developer C was working on some project again. So what I'll do, I'll go back here and give some project to this fellow. For example, he's working on some task. Developer C is working on some feature. For example, I'll put here this guy as project three. Sorry, for example project three, and he's developing. Okay, for example, few feature. I'll say he's working on feature. For now, I'll give a feature one, comma, two, comma, three, like 4 5 tasks he has assigned with. Okay. Now this guy was also keeping backup. Okay, always there's a habit of keeping backup. But this guy decided that, sir, I'll not keep manual backups because manual backups keeping it will be again headache to go back to the previous version of source code. Right. So this guy, what he has done, he has he was thinking that why we not use some software. Okay, use some software. That software will be capable enough to do backupping system or previous version of copy. Use some software for keeping previous version of source code, for keeping previous backups. Okay, if you're using software that time, see for example, I'm a lead and he has 1,000 backups. Okay, and I'll ask him to go back to the thousands, like 921 some backups. So he can't understand what is there the changes inside that particular backup, because he has to see manually, he has to go to each file and debugging that way inside each file. It again headache for a developer. So this guy was very smart. This was, no smart. This guy was little smart. This guy was very smart. So he has started using what, some software to managing all this backup, and that software is nothing but called as version control system, or we call as VCS. This guy was using what? This guy was using something called as VCS, and that VCS, okay, is what, version control system. Now, you till now, if you understood what the scenario was putting you guys, you can relate that inside VCS. VCS is a software which is responsible for keeping previous version of your source code or previous backup of your source code. That means what, here by using this particular software, what we have tagging or versioning at every level. That's why we call as version control system. See this out. This was, I'll go back to the presentation again. Here today it will be a lot of Alibaba stories, so that you'll have a clear understanding what I'm talking. So there, this was a developer job. Now see, same thing. What is version control system? Version control system, or we call as revision control system, for a source code that keeps what, previous version of your source code. See this out. For example, initially developer A has created file 1, file 2, file 3. Then he has taken what, snapshot. That means what, a track, a version of his source code called as backup 1. Later, I asked him to developer A. Again, I asked him to do some changes to some files. He modified what? File 2 got changed. This file got changed. A new file added called as file 4. For achieving that particular task, he was adding what? Files. Newly file added, or some newly file created, or old file got changed. So that from this particular point, what he has done, he has taken that particular thing and started modifying what? Started modifying these values. You'll have what, file 2 and file 3, and forming what, version 1 to version 2. Like this, he'll move ahead from every version to every version. That means what, whatever the source code we are writing, these files we are writing, we're supposed to have tags or snapshot at every level, so that if you want to go back to the previous version, you can go to version 1. If you want to go to version 3, like previous to previous, you can go back that also. Even not only that, you can use to see the track history, that at particular what level, initial level what I have done, next level what I have done, and next to next level what I have done. So a version control system allows you to keep a track of your working history. Whatever the changes will do to our source code, that changes will get saved. Understood? Yeah. So again, I'll move ahead. Till here, let me check a status that you people are in sync. If you people are in sync, just say yes. Okay, so that I can move ahead. You can see my screen as well as am I audible to you? If I am audible as well as you can see my screen and you are in sync, so say yes so that I can move ahead. Fine. You all people are in sync, right? Am I audible to you? Yeah. Thank you, Pratibha. Please do inform already. Keep this track, okay? Thank you, Ramakrishna. I'll move ahead. See this out. We understood that what is version control system. For understanding a single word, we have listened a lot of story. Okay, that was my Alibaba story, by the way. Okay, so we was maintaining some software. To that particular software, we want track that every day what you work with and what are the changes we are moving ahead. For that reason, we use what version control system, or we call as VCS. Fine. Now see, why VCS? Because VCS is going to help at multiple level to us. Multiple level in the sense, if you are working individually, that allows you to, to work smoothly with your software so that you can move back and you come forward and you can have a comparison to the previous backup of your source code. See, if manually you're moving a changes, if you're keeping manually that particular backup, moving back and seeing those file and comparing those file with the recent version of your file, it will be again headache for you if you're doing manually. But version control system allows us to do that. Okay, it gives us standalone support also for us. Now it has great advantages when we'll start working with team. See, whenever you're working with team, that time what happened? Okay, for example, a developer A is there. I'll go back to the same thing. Okay, end up my slides. I'll go back to the same picture here. For example, developer A is working, developer B is working, developer C is working. Now, at the end, project one, project two, or project three, or feature one, feature two, feature three, supposed to get combined together and forms a project, right? So once we have these whatever the feature developers are developing, when we are combining together, then and then only we end up with software, right? So that's why whenever I combine this feature with this feature, then I'll end up with a product. Otherwise, we'll have some random features here, random features here, random features here, standalone features. So whenever I want to utilize multiple, for example, a team is there, I'll not put developer A for everything, right? Or I'll not ask developer A to develop same thing, developer B is working, or developer B is working, same thing, developer C is working. I'll not assign the same task for all people, or I'll not assign all tasks to everybody. I'll not assign all tasks to this guy here, or I'll not assign same task to these different people. If I want to utilize maximum resources from any team, what I'll do, I'll put them into different units, different modules, we can say, so that they'll have working different portion, and we'll end up with, when I'll combine their tasks together, I'll form a project. So whenever I'm working with whenever we are working with different features, we're supposed to combine source code together. Now see this out. I'm moving towards different story. So when I'll combine this particular source code, for example, when I combine this source code with this source code, or this source code with this source code, then and then I'll end up with what? I'll end up with feature software. So see, for example, how you'll share a source code, if I want to combine with this thing, what you'll use a pen drive. Okay, you can choose what? You can choose pen drive. You can take a code in pen drive, or you can take a code via mail. Okay, you can share this data via pen drive or mail, some hardware resources or some repository. So that time what you can do, you can share, like manually you're doing it. And once you put a source code together, then again you have to bring this source code into his system. Then he'll verify, he'll collate a source code, and he's supposed to sit and properly merge the source code. That's what, again, headache for a developer to do all those stuff. Why it is headache? See, I'll go back to the scenario again here. I'll go back to the same scenario again. See, for example, this is okay. This one. For example, here developer A is there, developer B is there, developer C is there. He's working with what? He's working with some source code. Now, if they want to share the source code, they're supposed to have some uh, sharing medium. Okay, if you're doing it manually, it will become very difficult job to move ahead. At the same time, what we're supposed to do, then this manual problem is supposed to solve with version control system. Okay, that version control system is what, nothing but we move to a centralized version control system. I'll talk about that thing, how we can solve that problem. But version control simplifies that problem also for us. It has lot of things what is helping, and the main reason is what, for getting internship or job. Okay, version control system nowadays becomes compulsory. You're supposed to learn it anyhow. And I can say you this also, I can comment this thing, that if any company is not using version control system, those companies are not good companies to work with. Because anyways, it's lot of dummy work is there. If you're if you're not using version control system in your project. Okay. Nowadays, not only software people, like IT people, non-IT people also work with version control system. People like, who are working with, like who are copywriters or content writer or those who are book writers, those people also use what version control system, so that they can compare what today they are writing, what yesterday they have written, and what are the changes they have done with, previous to next version. Got it? So see, when I talk about version control system, we have three different types of version control system. I call this thing LCD, LCD. Okay, LCD is there, right? LCD TV, like that. So I call this as LCD. There are three different types of version control system. First version control system is called as localized version control system, or we say localized VCS. Okay. See, whatever the example I have given to you people is nothing but an example of localized version control system. The developer are keeping manual backup of their source code within their system. Once they're keeping manual backup within their system is nothing but a localized version control system, and they share the data with each other. But we understood that localized version control system has a problem in terms of team collaboration. If you're using localized, that means manual backup. It's what keeping track of manual backup, again headache. Collaborating with team, again headache. That means what lot of drawbacks are available with what localized version control system. That's why people started moving towards what centralized version control system. Inside centralized version control system, again you don't have to keep it manual track. You use some software. Okay, after using that software, you'll make some centralized system. I'll show you this diagram. Okay, this is nothing but an example of centralized version control system. Every developer is having what sync with some central server. Imagine this is what centralized resource. Developer A want to add source code here, he'll add here. Developer B want to add source code, he'll add here. Developer C want to add source code, he'll add here. So they'll put their source code into some centralized repository. We call this as central repo. Okay, so this centralized version control system, okay, we are going to keep entire track here. Entire version history, everything will be available inside your central server. Fine. So see this out. I'll go back to the here centralized version control system. Okay, localized. You can have given example. Now centralized version control system provides a central server. Okay, that is going to store entire source code for us. That means there is no pen drive, there is no email. You directly have some centralized resource, centralized machine. There you can put your software. By the way, happy Diwali. Here crackers are, people are firing crackers. Okay, so what I was talking about, I was saying centralized version control system. The centralized version control system stores and manage your data centrally. Like this was the diagram here. Okay, we have centralized. What we are going to do, we're going to choose some machine centrally. We are going to install one software here. That software will be a version control system. We call this version control system such as we are going to put something called as SVN, SVN or subversion. You might heard of SVN, which is centralized version control system, or subversion, or we can say there is one software called as CVS. Those are example of centralized version control system. You might heard of SVN. SVN is very famous centralized version control system. Okay, this is centralized version control system. Okay, SVN and CVS I'm talking about. Okay, both approach is what this centralized and localized system has some drawback. I'll tell you this one, but I'll go back here. See, what is there in centralized version control system? I'm going to generate one central server. Central server will have version 1, version 2, version 3. Okay, entire versioning is going to happen centrally within this server. Computer A, computer B, imagine this is developer A, developer B. Developer A creates some file, it go back here, forms a version. Developer B creates some file for version 2. They're going to work with this particular centralized software. Now see, in subversion or CVS or SVN, we'll have some centralized repository like this. Okay, don't worry, I'll ask to share this slide as well as a video recording to you people so that you can read from your side. Okay, so once you have done with centralized version control system, but there are problem with centralized version control system. What's the problem with centralized version control system? The major drawback is what you're supposed to create this server manually handling the infrastructure for centralized version control system. That means if you're using subversion or SVN, you're supposed to have create this server manually from your side, then install the software and keep this machine all the time up and running. This is one drawback. The second drawback is whatever the versioning is happening, this versioning will happen centrally. That means you'll have a track history here inside this centralized version control system only. Centrally, you'll have track. But if I talk about locally you'll not have a track. That means if developer A wants to compare, like what I added some version 2, I'm moving towards new version of source code. That time, okay, I want to compare the changes with previous version and the new version of source code. I can't compare locally. That means comparison I cannot do here within local system because I don't have local tracking. The tracking is available only at central level. The backup we can call as version or we can call as backup. No problem. We say backup one, backup two, backup three, or version one, version two, version three. Every version is nothing but a backup, right? So we have backup here. We don't have backup here. I cannot compare. That is the drawback of centralized version control system. Okay. So that's why instead of moving ahead with this, we started working with what third type. That is what L for localized, C for centralized, D for distributed. That three type LCD. So distributed version control system, okay, that allows us to have central repository, central copy of your source code that will have versioning here as well as I'll have versioning locally also. That means I'll keep track of my source code central repository as well as track of my source code local repository also. Here, everywhere I'll have a track of my source code. Here centrally I have a track anyways. Locally there was no track, but inside distributed version control system we have track here as well as here. So once I have track everywhere, that means I have this distributed version control system that gives central tracking. That means I'll have track here as well as I'll have track locally also. Okay, so what is their distributed version control system? A distributed version control system, each user, okay, has a complete local copy of the centralized repository. That means this user will have centralized repository, this user will have centralized repository, this user will have centralized repository. That means everywhere we track. Here is version history, here is version history, here is version history, here is version history. So everywhere the version history is available. That means I can move back and forward. See, this will be the architecture of distributed version control system. Inside distributed version control system, this is my centralized source code. Okay, inside centralized source code, we have V1, V2, V3. Similarly, inside computer A also we have V1, V2, V3, V1, V2, V3. A also has, B also has, like this. As many as developer is there associated with your team, that many developer will have their centralized, localized as well as centralized backup source code. Got it? So everywhere this copy will be available within your machine. Okay, so I'll give this one. If I talk about distributed version control system, see the entire Alibaba story, this I have done for only one term, that is nothing but DVCS, distributed version control system. That means we are going to use what? Distributed version control system. Inside our scenario, it will be serverless. Inside server side, it will be having versioning. Local system also have versioning. Local system also have versioning. So inside distributed version control system, we'll have central repository as well as local repository. So see, we have different example. Git is one of the centralized version control system. Mercury is there. Bazaar is there. Like lot of examples are available in market. But Git is one of the famous one of the famous distributed version control system. Understood this? I'll go back again. I'll show you the reference point from where you can read. See, actually, I have a tutorials. If you go to Visual Path for your reading purpose, okay, I have mentioned this data. If you go to the Visual Path, okay, .in, there is something called a slash, okay, type it down this thing, say DevOps tutorial. Actually, I have my own tutorial. For now it is not up. If you go here, this is the link. I'll share you with people. Okay, if you go here, okay, it is what link for, I'll share you. I have already shared with you guys. Okay, if you go here, it has this tutorials. This is actually DevOps tutorial and developed by me only. Okay, but authors are different. One of the author is what? The main author is my uncle here, which is Imran Teli. Okay, so I'm the sub-author for sub-author for this particular tutorial. So I've given some sessions here. Okay, that sessions are this one. We'll go back here. The sessions are this. There is something called as VCS here. Now inside this VCS, see this out. This VCS, we have all everything I have documented here so that you can read what is VCS, what is version control system, how it generated, why to use, what are the terminology we have, what are the type of version control system we have. Again, some diagram and all. For you people, it will be a reference here to learn. From here, we have subtopics also available here. So you can read from here. That is one reference. Okay. So we understood that we're supposed to learn what distributed version control system, and that distributed version control system specifically we are going to learn something called as Git. For explaining this terminology, I have given a lot of story for you people. I'll go back. There's an official website for Git called as gitscm.com. Okay, this is whenever I'm going to teach you anything, I'll refer the official documentation pages given by those people, those who are developing. I'll go back to here. Again, I have put here the link is given to you people. You can, you can see it out, you can save it down also. Anyways, inside tutorial also I have given this link. Okay, so git-scm.com is an official website of Git, and what it says, Git is what? Free, open source, distributed version control system. Now you can understand what is distributed version control system. Inside distributed version control system, we'll have what? We'll have central versioning as well as local versioning. If I go here, I'll have central versioning as well as local versioning inside my distributed version control system software. Okay, so we are going to learn what? Git. See, this Git is actually developed by Linus Torvald, the developer of. Okay, Git is one of the distributed version control system, and it has what? Free history record to the storage, content tracking. The goal of Git is what? Speed, suppose, and all those stuff is available here. And the Linus Torvald, who has developed Git, same guy has who has developed Linux kernel, actually Linux operating system, same guy has developed Git, and he kept this Git as open source. That means we can have a source code of Git software. I'll explain you what is open source. See, open source does not mean free. Actually, its byproduct is free. Open source means what? If I'm releasing any software as open source, for example, this is the software this guy has released, right? If this guy is releasing this software as open source, that means he's supposed to submit, he's supposed to give a source code along with that particular software. He's supposed to release the source code of that particular software open to the public. That means you can download that particular software, you can modify that particular software, you can edit the changes, you can execute that particular software, you can modify and you can resell that particular software. Okay, there is no problem. That's what open source software is come. I'll give a very good example to you people. Now see, you use Gmail, right? Gmail are open source? No, Gmail are not open source. Gmail service are free. That's what the difference between free and open source. I cannot call any software as free. Gmail is not free. Gmail is not open source software, but it's free software. They give free services. Okay, but Gmail source code is not released. Similarly, Facebook is not open source software. Facebook is free service. Okay, but I can call as Linux as open source software, Git as open source software, Node.js as open source software, because those people who are releasing this open source software, they make their source code available to all people. Okay, so they make this source code available to all people. So I call the Git is open source software as well as distributed version control system. So that's what is there inside Git. For now, I'll not let you bore with all lot of theory. Okay, I'll go back and move towards here. See, I'm showing you the way how you can move back easily ahead with Git. See, for example, you want installation or you want setup. What you can do, you can directly go to the git-scm.com. Here, official website of Git. Now they give documentations also. If you here I have made it very easy. If you want more detail, what you can do, you can go to the Git documentation, git-doc. Okay, once you go here, they give one book also. What you can do, you can click on this Pro Git book, and you can download as PDF or EPB format. Once I click on this, it will start downloading that ebook for me. Okay, what is doing? It's doing downloading that particular book. I'll cancel it out. Okay, I already have this book. Okay, along with this book, they have some getting started. What is basic? What is branching? What is all these things is available here. So you can read from there also. For example, I'll say getting what is about version control system. They give what is version control system, file 1, version 2, version 3. Same way I explain you people. Same thing is available here. Okay. I'll go back to the here. Now you can have short history, Git basics, and all those stuff is available here. But I'll go back here. Now instead of this thing, about documentation gives me a documentation. I'll go back and click on downloads. I want Git to be installed inside my system. So I'm moving towards installation of Git. How? See, if you click on download, you land up with this page. Okay, they have Mac OS, they have Windows, they have Linux. That means Git is available for all three platforms. For example, I want to download for Linux. I'll go with Linux. Linux has multiple distributions. Okay, like Ubuntu distribution, Ubuntu family is there, Red Hat family is there. Like they have multiple distributions. Choose your operating system. For example, you may using Debian-based operating system, or you may be using Fedora operating system. Choose your operating system. Based on that, use a command. For example, I'll use a command called as apt install git. But if you're using Linux operating system, I'll recommend you use this command with sudo command. That means what you're supposed to say before this command, you're going to add something called as sudo. See, while installing Git, you'll modify a lot of system related file. If you're modifying a lot of system related file, that time you're supposed to have system related changes. A normal user cannot do a system related changes. That time you're supposed to give a sudo command. So you're supposed to add sudo before this particular command. Okay. So you add sudo before installing this command. Same way everywhere. But I'll go back to the Windows. As I'm using Windows platform for demonstration to you people, I'll choose Windows. Okay, inside Linux, a single command hit, everything begins there. Okay, once I go here, see this out. Once I hit Windows, okay, your downloading start. My downloading had been started. See, one file has been started downloading. That git-2.1.9.exe file. See, exe file, it gives this exe file is nothing but an installer. See, whenever you're going installing any software, keep in mind you can install any software by two ways. Okay, I'm giving it till this time. I'll give you, till this time get download. I'll show you how. Okay, whenever you're installing any software, that time there are two ways. Okay, two ways. Sorry, no, not here. I'll go back here. Okay, so whenever you're installing some software, for installing any software, there are two ways. Okay, two ways to install software. Again, happy Diwali. First one, you can use what? You can choose something called as binary archive. What you can choose binary archive for that particular software. Okay. One way is what? Use binary archive. Okay. Sometimes this binary archive comes inside zip format, okay, or tar format, or rar format, or var format. Okay, so we can have any software in this format, right? So sometimes the software come in this format only, so you can download what? Binary archive. Second way is what? Second way, use installer. What we use installer. Installer means what? You download some file and you click on and say next, 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 next. That software is automatically get installed. Inside Windows platform, it is what? Exe file. Okay. Inside your Debian operating system is .db file. You call as .deb package. Okay. Inside Red Hat operating system, it is a RPM package. Don't worry, it's just a package name. Okay, in different operating system, different package name I'm saying. For now, it is exe package, which is the installer for us. So you might have heard of this one, exe package. Click, your installation done. Okay. Now here binary archive file, you'll give a zip file. You're supposed to do an environmental setting here. You're supposed to set up it's supposed to set up environment variables here. Don't worry, as we move ahead, we'll learn how to do that also. We're supposed to set up environmental variables. Okay. Variables. Okay, I'll talk about that thing later. For now, just keep this thing in mind. I'll go back here, where I'll go back to this particular page. Not here. Okay, here. I was downloading till that time my exe file is also get downloaded. Okay, so once this file is downloaded, I'll go here and say show in folder, and once you click on it, open and say right click. What to do? You say right click and say run as administrator. Once I say run as administrator, it will ask my permission that this software you want to have any changes. I'll say yes. Right now for you it will be blank. Yes or no. I'll say yes. Once I say yes, see it's opened this installer page for me. Okay, information you supposed to have git setup and all those stuff. Say what you say you're supposed to be read this thing and say terms and condition. I'll say next. Okay, now it will select the component you want to install. See, it gives what? It gives git bash here, it gives git GUI here, okay, and it gives a lot of other stuff also. Keep a default setting, don't do any changes. Current selection is what? 238 MB. Then say next. Once I say next, it's ask a default setting again. Happy Diwali. Okay, So this side is a lot of crackers are there. People are firing a lot of crackers. So it says use VM editor, keep the same setting, and go here and say next. Once I say next, see it gives three options. Use Git from Git Bash only. Use Git from Windows command prompt also you can use, or you can use anywhere. So use middle option and say next. Once I say next, use OpenSLS library, same, and say next. Once I say next, again same setting. Okay, same setting you're supposed to keep. Again minified, same setting. Go enable, and then you say install, and enable Git credentials and install. Once you say install, it will install Git Bash CLI for you, and we are going to use that only. If I click install, it will start installing all those software. But for me, it's already installed. So for now, I'll say cancel it out. I'll say yes. It's already installed for me. How I'll confirm it is installed or not? You open a command prompt. I'll say CMD here, type inside start menu, type command prompt and say CMD. Once I say CMD, use a command called as git hyphen hyphen version. What you'll use? You'll use a command called as git hyphen hyphen version. Hit enter. It will show you that your software is installed or not. For me, same. See this, whatever the command I'm going to use for Windows, same commands you can execute for Linux or any other operating system also. You just have to open a terminal and hit a command called as git hyphen hyphen version. Once you install git hyphen hyphen version, you can move smoothly ahead with what? Git. Now see this guys, intentionally I'm teaching you Git with the help of Git CLI. I can teach Git with Git GUI also, but if you're learning with the help of CLI, you'll have a lot of clarity, one thing, and you'll get habituated while handling this black terminal. You'll not be afraid of this black terminal, because I want you to handle your Node CLI, I want you to handle your Angular CLI. Different CLI is going to come. That's why I'm going to teach you entire Git with the help of this black terminal only. Okay, and at the end I'll show you the way you can do the same thing with the help of GUI tools also. I'll release my video. I'll give one URL also to you people that demonstrate entire GUI, and you can use that thing and move ahead with the GUI also. Fine. But here, while teaching the classes, I'll use what? CLI to teach you people. Now my installation is done. It says git hyphen hyphen version. It showed what version of Git you use. So you can use from this particular terminal also, or what you can do, you can use from, we'll get one git bash command prompt also. Once I click here git bash, it's open a bash terminal for me, this terminal. And if here, what you can do here also, I can execute a command called as git hyphen hyphen version. What you can do, you can execute a command called as git hyphen hyphen version. It will show you what version of Git you're using. For me, 2.1.7.0, something like that. For you people, it may be different. I may be using older one. Okay, or maybe recent one. So this is the installation of Git. That's how you're supposed to perform. Once you have installation of Git, then we can move towards what? Configuring Git. Okay, so installation is done. Okay, once you end up with this thing, that means your installation is successfully done. This is the way inside what? Inside Windows I've shown you. Same thing, what you can do, you can try with what? Other operating system also. You can try with Mac also. Okay, Mac it's going to have one, it will also download one file for you. Okay, so your download is getting started. So it will download one file for Mac, MSI file it seems. Okay, it's not initiating any download. Fine. You go back here. Inside Linux also you can execute these commands and you get your software. Fine. So I'll go back here. The installation is done. I've shown you installation. You can go to the documentation and refer there. Fine. So yesterday, what will be the task? Now, I said every session end up with what? A task, right? For you people, what will be the task? The task will be go and read this tutorial and read this documentation, whatever I have explained to you. I've given version control system theory. I've given what is the type and what are the different types available and all. See, we have inside distributed also. Okay, famous version control system in the market. CVS, SVN, and Git. Okay, Mercurial is there, Bazaar is there, but we are going to choose what? Git only. What is Git? Okay, how you do installation is also mentioned here inside Linux operating system, workflow and all. Okay, so we are going to learn a lot. Installation steps anyways mentioned here, along with what? Downloading URL also. Fine. This thing is here. So let me check again that all people are in sync with me. Fine. So you all people are in sync with me. Yes. So I'll go back here again to the demonstration. So yesterday I'm end up now what I'm doing, I'm just today we'll hold this session here. Okay. So before halting this session, I want you to go and read about this version control system. Okay. So tomorrow onwards, we'll start more in detail. Okay. So, but I'll take only 5 minutes now. Okay. To do some setups here. Okay. We'll finish with setup. I'll open this terminal. We'll finish with what? Some setup. Okay. See this out. I'll go back here and say, now what we are going to do, we are going to have git setup or configuration. I'll take few minutes. Okay. We're going to have git setup and configuration. Installation we already seen. Now I'm taking you towards git configuration and installation. See, whenever you're working with git setup or configuration, that time we have three different types of configuration. Remember, we have system level configuration in git, system level configuration. Okay, what we have system level configuration. Second is what we have. Second we have what we can say. This is what global level configuration. Global level configuration. Or third we have system level, global level, and we have third called as local level configuration inside Git. Okay, this local level is also called as repository level. Okay, global level is also called as user level. Okay, system level is entire system level. See, why I'm telling you this thing, because see, once I'm done, end up with what? Once I'm end up with installation, I'm supposed to move towards these things. Why? See, for example, I'm working with Git. Before moving towards Git, you're supposed to make your setup ready. What setup? For example, if I'm configuring Git, that time what I want that what user is working, like what is the code author. For example, you are doing some changes. That change is supposed to go with the developer A is doing changes. Is supposed to go with developer A name with his email address. Okay, developer A is moving some code to the repository. That means that time developer A is supposed to push that code with his name. Okay, every single time, because we work with a team, that time we're supposed to have team members information, that who is adding source code, who is modifying source code, and all this data is supposed to be available there. So that time we have three different types of configuration: system, global, and local. Okay, so these three setups you have to do. Okay, actually we supposed to have either one of them. Okay, system, global, and this one, but we can have all three. See, if I do system level configuration, what system level configuration means? For example, imagine this is my computer. Okay, so I'll try to make like computer. Imagine this is my laptop. Okay, very bad at drawing. So for example, this is my laptop. This is my system. Fine. So this is my system available here. So within this system, what I have, for example, I'm doing system level setting. That system level setting means what? This setting will be entirely available throughout the system. That means whatever the system is there, till here the setting will be available. Once I do a system level configuration, that means throughout the system we can access it out. Throughout the system we can access this particular data. Whatever the configuration, whatever the variable we are going to set up, it will be accessible throughout the system. Next thing is what? For example, I am in my system there can be a multiple users, right? For example, right now if I go here and I'm using, my user is Dell. If I go back here and if I showcase you this thing, my operating user is what? Dell. If I go to the information to my PC, for example, if I open any terminal, see this out, it shows that the operating user is what? Dell. Like this we can have what? One user or more than one user. That time every user level setting also I can set up. For example, I have wanted to have a user called as I'll put my name. For example, I have a user, for example, WK user is there. Okay, Wahid K user is there, along with what? Dell user is there. Okay, or along with that another user is there called as user one. So I have multiple users. So once I have multiple users, I want to do a setting related to this user. I'll go with what? Global level or user level configuration, right? System level, and that means what? Entirely system. See why we have this kind of settings. We have this kind of setting due to one reason, that inside a company you may have one people working, or two people working, or three people working, and they may using the same system. If you set up a same system level configuration, and for example developer A is there, developer B is there, and they're using system level configuration, developer A set up system level configuration. So next time onwards, okay, if B is pushing a source code or B is adding some changes, it will go with developer A name. It's very wrong, right? So that time, if developer A is supposed to move his source code with his name, developer B is supposed to move his source code with his name. That time, what we'll do, we'll have user level setting. This one, right? So if they are accessing same system also, they can go and log into their system and move ahead with their changes. Fine. That is what you can say, developer user level settings. Now you can have another one type of setting is there, that is called as repository level setting or directory level setting. That means what you can do, this is my project, repository level or directory level or project level. This is my project, okay, and I set up some configuration to this particular directory only, or this particular folder only. Okay, so once I set up a project or directory or repository, I'll have the settings available within this particular directory only. That is called as repository level or project level or local level. So I have a setting for this particular directory only. That time this configuration is called as local level or repository level configuration. Don't worry, I'll go with this thing tomorrow also. I'll start from here. But for now, I'll give some commands to you people. Okay, if I want to do a setting inside Git, I want you to practice little bit. So if I want to do any setting inside Git, I'll open a Git bash terminal, and I'll use a command called as git config. Git config is a command to set up any configuration. Okay, so if you want to do a system level configuration, please open your Git bash. I'll again open a Git bash. I'll say Git bash. Okay, click on Git bash and say run as administrator. Once I run as administrator, your Git bash will have privileges to a system level settings. Okay, so I'll go here and say what I want to do a Git configuration. I'll say git config, and I want system level configuration. I'll hit a command called as -- system. Once I hit a command called as -- system, that means you're doing system level configuration. If I hit a command called as - global, that means you're doing user level or global level configuration. If I hit a command called as - local, that means you're doing repository level or local level. I explained three type here to you. The three type you can use by changing this flag called as - local, - system, or - global. For now, git config is a command. I'll go with a command. First of all, we'll see how to do system level configuration. Okay, so system level, what I want to set up, I want to set up user information. How I'll set up, I'll say user dot, I'll give user dot name. That means you're giving your coder name. Who is the developer? That developer name I'm putting inside. I'll say developer name, user dot name. For example, developer for now, I'll say developer is my name. I'll put Wahid Khan. I'm giving Wahid Khan as a name for the global level settings. I'll hit enter. Once I hit enter, I have done what? This system level configuration. That means successful command. My command is executed fine. So that means I have developed a successfully system level configuration. Again, I'll hit a command called as - system. Next time I'll put what? User dot name. I'll put user dot email. What I'll put user dot email. See, always write user dot name. Don't use username. I'll say user dot name, exactly same thing you're supposed to type. User dot email, exactly same. You're supposed to type email only, not mail. So use user dot email, and after that give an email address. What I'll say Wahid. For example, this is my email address. I'll say Wahid@gmail. Go down. I'll say Wahid@gmail.com. Once I say Wahid@gmail.com, I'm setting up my email address. That means you're giving a developer name and developer email, that to system level. That means throughout the system I can access. Got it? Now, if you have done a setting, how you can verify? I'll use the same command called as git config. I want to see, I have done settings, right? I want to see the settings where it's available. I'll say git config. Okay, after saying git config, what you can do, you can hit a command called as git config - system. I want to see system level setting. I'll say git config - system - list. Once I hit this command, git config - system - list. Oh, sorry, I'm giving wrong command. Go here and change it out. You're supposed to say git config. Okay, git space config. then hyphen system hyphen list. It will show you what are the configuration you have done. See, these are the default settings available with you. Don't worry about this thing. This will see later. But for now, remember this. These two settings I have added at the end: username and email address. That is what my system level settings. Okay. Similarly, this is what system level settings is available here, right? Now I want to do a global level configuration. What I'll do, I'll go back here. If I want to set up a global level, that means user level configuration. I'll say git config. After saying git config, I'll use a flag called as hyphen global. Okay. Once I'm done with hyphen global, what I can do, I can set up username and say, let's say user dot name here. It's a same thing, user dot name. For this guy, I'll say wk. What I'm saying, for this guy, the setting is what? Wk. Again, he'll hit a command called as git config, and I'll say a flag name hyphen global again, and I'll say user dot, I'll put user dot email, and I'll go back here and say, for example, for this guy, I'll set up an email address wahidkwk@gmail.com. Intentionally, I'm giving all name are different. Their user have given different author name. Here, I'm giving different author name. If I hit a command, how to see? If I hit a command called as git config, okay, same way, hyphen global, hyphen global, hyphen list. Once I say git config hyphen global hyphen list, it's going to showcase me what are the global level settings we have. See, global level, we have wk name and this name. If I again hit a command called as git config hyphen system hyphen list, it will show you system level configuration. Global level configuration is what? This is user level. Whatever the setting I've done, this is user level, and this is setting system level. That means here system level we have different name, user level we have different name. Same thing, what we can do with what? Repository level or project level. So till now, if I want to set up a local or repository level setting, I'm supposed to have a repository. I'm supposed to have a Git repository. That means I'm supposed to show you how to create Git repository. Getting what I'm saying, right? How to create Git repository. That means without using, till now I have not shown you how to create a Git repository, right? Without Git repository, we cannot create repository levels configuration. These are the settings I have done too. Okay, for now, remember this thing. I'll go back here within my workspace. See, for you people, always keep a proper directory structure. What I'll do, I'll make a directory structure. I'll use a command called as mkdir. This is the command to create a folder. What you can do, you can create a folder manually also by going here. What you can do, you can create your folder inside your, for example, desktop or PC, anywhere. For example, I use D drive. Within D drive, I can create new folder. Okay, by using this D drive, I'll say new folder. What I'll say your batch is what? For example, full stack fs hyphen. I'll put this what 8 p.m. I'll make this directory full stack hyphen 8 p.m. I'll go back here and I'll say open bash here. I'll say open bash. Directly open where? Directly open within D drive and here. So you can use that way also, no problem. Okay. Now I'm showing you how to initialize how to create a Git repository. So before creating this repository, or you can use a command simply mkdir to create a folder. Say mkdir. You can directly create manually by using GUI here. You can right click and say new folder. Right click and new folder. You can go and you can say here git -workspace. So that entire Git repository will be available here. If you go here, there's nothing inside. Okay, same way here. If I do ls, see this out, one Git workspace folder is available there. They use a command called as cd command to change a directory or change a folder. I'll go cd workspace. That means I'm inside where? I'm inside. You can go here. I'm inside manually here. From terminal also manually here. Okay. So inside this directory, I'll create now. While command, I'll create this directory. I'll say git. I'm creating something called as first-git repository for you, and say first-git. Now one more directory generated. If you go to the browser, earlier first-git folder was not. If you go to the file manager, earlier first-git was not there. By a command line, by hitting this mkdir command, you generated that particular directory. Okay, I'll use terminal only. Then again, I'll say do same thing. I'll say first-git here. I'll go back here and I'll hit a command called as git. Okay, what I'll do, you can use any workspace here, by the way. You can use D drive, F drive, any drive. I use what? D drive for me. I'll say first git cd first git. Now within this first git, now my path is what? I'm inside first git. So inside first git, I want to make this first git directory as a git repository. That time what I'll use? I'll use a command called as git init. Git init is a command to make any folder or any directory as a git repository. What I do, I'll hit enter here. What it says that initializing empty git repository inside this particular path. Here within this directory becomes a git repository now. Okay, there is nothing inside because we have not added anything, because this directory is initialized out as a git repository, git init command, right? After hitting git init command, see, after hitting this git init command, what I'll do, I wanted to show you the setup related to configuration, right? I'll do a repository level configuration. Earlier I was not having a repository to set up a repository level configuration. Okay, here I said repository or local level configuration. I was not having this project. Now I created this project with the help of what? Git init command. I'll say git config. Now after git config, I'll use a command called as git config. You can use a label called as git config hyphen local for local level setting, and you can set up a username. I'll say user.name. Okay, I'll say user.name. I'll put a username called as WMK. I'm giving different name here. Similarly, I'll go here and say git config hyphen local. Okay, and I'll say user dot email, and this email I'm doing same thing. I'll go here, I'll say wmk@gmail.com for now. A sample email address I'm giving. Hit enter. These settings I've done here, two settings. If you want to see that setting, I'll hit a command called as git config hyphen local, and you know all the rest of the thing is at hyphen list. Once I hit this command, it will show you these are the default settings come with the repository. But along with this thing, two settings you have done, username and user email address. So once I'm done with these two settings, name and email address, my configuration is done. So what I'll ask you people, go there and have an installation of Git, then similarly have a setup of Git. System level, global level, and local level configuration you're supposed to set up. I'll ask to share these commands. I'll share my commands also with you people, as well I'll ask to share the recording with you guys with the document so that you can read as well as you can practice. Fine. So today we'll hold a session here only. We'll move back to our Q&A section. That if you have any query, you can shoot inside your chat box so that I can see and I can respond back. Okay. So I'll ask you people to, you can unmute yourself also and you can ask question directly. Now you can unmute and you can ask question also, or you can shoot back your question inside chat box also. No problem. Fine. If I think you don't have any, if you don't have any problem, we'll just hold the session now and just practice. I'll ask to share this video plus a document so that, and I've given a reference document anyways to you people in distributed VCS. Yeah. Developer modify file one source code and check out. B modify file one source code and check out, and C modify file one source code and modify the file one and source code parallelly. Yeah, see what we can here, the terminology, whatever the check I work with SVN, whatever the check-in and check-out terminologies are there, those are related to SVN. Okay, in SVN we check in, we form a version as centrally, right? Similarly, we check out. Once we check out, we leave a source code there. So that time what happened, you check out, and every single time parallelly we can do it, but whatever the versioning is happening in centralized server in SVN. But inside localized, inside distributed version control system is an added advantage. We can compare. If I want to compare there and here, I can compare centrally also, I can compare locally also. And when multiple developers are working together, before one developer push a source code, for example, we call push and pull here. Once developer A push a source code, developer B has to pull before pushing. That means he has to merge the source code along with the source code. Anyways, I'll talk about these scenarios later. As we move ahead. Okay. For now, parallelly is possible. I'll answer this question as parallelly it is possible. You can have parallelly, committing and parallelly pushing. You can possible. We're supposed to bring source code. We're supposed to collide, then move ahead. I'll clear this out. Okay. Anyways, I'll generate a scenario in front of you. Then we'll move ahead. For now, we'll halt the session. If you don't have any problem, we can, we can halt the session here. Okay. For now, goodbye, everybody. Okay. No doubts, right? I'll consider that there's no doubt. Okay, fine. Goodbye. Okay, bye bye. I'll ask to share this video with you people. Practice this uh, commands whatever I've done in front of you via CLI plus installation and everything supposed to be ready with you. Okay, for now, bye bye.